Hey, how you going?
Hey mate, how you going? Good, how are you?
Yeah, good, mate. Good.
Cool, awesome. Let's get into it then. So,
Sure.
so tell me about your background and how and why did you get into teaching?
Duncan, I got into teaching. Well, it would be a long story, but to cut the story short, both my parents are in education, and
Yep.
you parents. My father is a high school teacher at a high school that you went to,
Yep.
and I went to briefly as well,
Yep.
and that's how we met. And then my mum, for a very long time as well, has been a pre-primary teacher assistant,
Oh, okay.
and I enjoyed having time with them over school holidays. I enjoyed both of their lifestyles. It worked really well for our house environment, and I went after high school. I actually didn't know what I wanted to do, but although I liked their lifestyle, I didn't know if teaching was for me. I tried other things. They didn't quite work, but I never really enjoyed what I was doing.
Yep. Yep.
And then I found this pathway in teaching. I gave it a go. Maybe a little unsure at first, but once I started university, I was able to do some pracs at different schools.
Yep. Yep.
Really, really enjoyed it. I
Awesome.
had a real positive experience, and that's really important. You've got to
Yep.
love what you do. And when you go into university, sometimes, well, not all courses you get to do, you do a lot of theory, but not a lot of practical experience.
Yep. Yep.
But that practical experience really won me over. The university I went to, we were doing full terms, one a year.
Yeah. Right.
And so I went to Notre Dame University in
Cool.
Fremantle,
Nice.
Perth, Western Australia. And yeah, very rewarding. I I enjoyed my experiences. Very challenging as well.
Yeah.
They pushed us very hard, but I think that's important because if you can cope in that environment, which is a realistic environment, then
Yep.
you know it's for you.
Yeah. For sure. Definitely. Awesome, man. So, my next question is, what are the challenges and rewards from what you do, and how does that affect other parts of your life?
The challenges and rewards. Well, I find teaching incredibly challenging. I've been teaching for 10 years now.
Yeah. Right.
So it always involves, it always evolves. I find it evolves a lot. Technology evolves, the science of teaching evolves, and you've got to keep up with it. If you don't, you kind of, well, you're not up to date with what the students' needs are,
Yep.
on a theory-based side, but also on new ways of learning. So
Yeah.
you've really got to be up with it, and you do a lot of peer, like a lot of professional learning in teaching, which does help upskill you. So
Yep.
that's really important. Uh, and you've got to be willing to try things out, new things. You've got to, push yourself, and not everything works, and some things that you need to work on harder and harder. I know there's plenty of things that I need to, as a teacher, work on, and I have, and it's helped improve myself as a teacher.
Oh,
So
excellent.
there's plenty of challenges. The
Yeah.
work life, I might start work at 8:15 in the morning and finish at, say, my school finishes at 2:40. That's quite a short day for a lot of people,
Hmm.
but it's very intense.
Hmm.
And emotionally it's quite intense as well, because you're dealing with a lot of students and all their emotional needs, because I'm a primary school teacher, and you're dealing with parents and staff and the community. So I'm involved in the community at my school, and it's fantastic, but it can be quite draining physically and
Yeah.
mentally.
Yeah.
So you also have work outside of school hours as well. I bring work home. Even my family know that, and they're pretty understanding. My children, I've got young children myself, and
Cool.
my wife, and yeah, they're understanding, but it is quite time consuming, and it does consume a lot of your life. But on the other side of things, having an understanding family. When we do have time off, it's really good to recharge the batteries, find things that you love outside of your work, because work's a big part of my life. But also, as you know me, Duncan, I love my music, just like you. And you've got to do things that you love. If it's going to the beach, going surfing, playing a sport, just getting involved in certain things, different projects that you can do. It's fun, and life, what you make of it. And for me, teaching's a big part of it. And I've never found a job that I've enjoyed until I started teaching, and I don't want to stop teaching. It's fantastic.
Excellent. So I guess another part of the question is, how has it affected other parts of your life?
Yeah, so I didn't actually answer that part of it. So it's affected my life in such ways that it's been a positive influence on me. It's helped me, I think, to become a good father, and I think that's really important, because the communication skills that I've got with students and how I know to raise my own children, I think that's really important. You've got to have good communication skills when you're a teacher, but also, it's not a selfish profession. You've got to be a giving person and putting yourself out there. So it does affect my life, like, in a real positive way. It can also be quite draining as well, like mentally draining, and that also works into your mental health, works into your physical health. I'm a believer of that. So for me, now that I don't play sport, I used to love, on the weekends playing football and doing things like that. But now that I don't do that, I still got to eat the right foods, and I still got to, work hard on. I've been doing yoga in recent years.
Nice.
I dropped off that a little bit, but it's important to find those things. It's easy for your mental health to slip if you're not on top of your game. It's if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're not eating the right foods, diet, and trying to stay physically active, really, really important. And also, because we're busy, and now that I've grown up and my friends have grown up and they've got other jobs that they do that are quite time consuming, and they've got family, it's really important, once you establish yourself as a teacher, is to still keep those connections with your friends, even if you are time poor. I still try to make those connections, and it helps, because if you need your time out. Otherwise, if it just consumes you too much, you'll burn yourself out, and that's not a good thing. Because I've actually had a little bit of time off a number of years ago from teaching, because I felt like it was very consuming, although it was rewarding. And when I took that time away, yes, I might have recharged myself to a certain degree, but I missed it. And then when I came back into teaching, I've been back for 3 years now. So I had about a 7-year stint, a couple of years off, 3 years back. Well, this is my 3rd year of full-time teaching again. And yeah, I missed it. I missed it a lot. And I think I'm a lot better teacher now that I had that little bit of a break. Came back, reevaluated what I wanted to do in life, and definitely don't want to stop teaching. It's very rewarding and challenging.
Awesome. So you also, backtracking a few conversations back, you mentioned about a lot of professional development and learning. Is there a process that you follow, and like that when approaching your teaching as a profession, or is it based on any sort of like framework, or is it a mixture of framework and adapting to the situation?
Both. So in teaching, there's a lot of frameworks, and when you're a university student, you'll see a little bit of it, but when you actually go out into the teaching profession, and you've got the curriculum, and then your school's got a syllabus which you'll say follow for your year level or field that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of,
Mm-hmm.
and you do it each year a number of times in different areas of teaching when it comes to things, so that there's also at my school robotics, with which I needed PL on because I wasn't the best on that. That might have been one of my downfalls. Technology, for instance, there's a lot of PL on things such as targeting students,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's their social emotional needs, or it could be learning outcomes,
Mm-hmm.
and making sure that students receive the right guidance to connect with the learning outcomes that they're missing out on. So we had a Zoom meeting or a WebEx meeting with a gentleman not so long ago, and he looked through all the data of the school when it came to our testing, from NAPLAN to PAT testing to a couple of other things that we do as well, Australian standard testing, Stay 9 testing, all these kind of things. And he was able to look at it all and look at where we sat and students in our class. That's how the finer detail and pinpoint things such as, okay, this is what they're getting, and see all these points here, this is what they're not getting. So now that it would be good for you as a school to have a look at it and look at the areas that need to be captured, so that you can move the students across the board for everything. Because it's so easy to have little gaps in your teaching. You're naturally going to be stronger in certain areas, and you're trying to teach the whole, syllabus that your school creates, and there's things that you still will brush over, and you can't always expect students to get it. And then if, by doing that PL, we're able to then see, well, this is provided for us, and this is what we need to look at each individual teacher. So there's a lot of frameworks provided, and you've really got to get your head around it. And certain things when it comes to PL, I'll be very passionate about and want to do it. There's other things that will come to my attention and that I need to learn a bit more about, because as a teacher, very few people are a complete package. I'll be honest, I wouldn't have been like the top level student at school. I might have been around that middle range or whatever, but that doesn't mean that you're not a good teacher.
Yeah.
It's about.
Yeah. Nice. So tell me about, so this industry, when you think about a primary school teacher, you don't think about many male primary school teachers. So can you talk about?
Yeah, sure. Well, that's a really good point, because funny you should say that. Like, I'm one of only a couple in my entire school, and I've got quite a big primary school that I teach at, and very few men. And so it's a massively female-dominated industry, which is good. There's no dramas there. Doesn't bother me if it is or isn't. But I 100% think there should be more male primary school teachers out there. Students need both male and female role models, and some students who I've had, in my class, actually more than some, quite a few, only have a female, in their household as their mum. They might not even have a father, or because of, for whatever reasons, and I don't need to get into it, but, if I'm that positive role model in their life, or if they have a couple of really awesome male primary school teachers in their life, it gives them a real good balance. And look, just a lot of men may not be interested in it, and which is perfectly fine. There's all sorts of professions that you can do when you finish school. Some guys might shy away from it for whatever reason, because, you know, oh, I could make more money, you know, on the mines, you know, in particularly in Western Australia, you can make some pretty good money there, or, you know, I could do this or do that. But for me, that never really crossed my mind. I wouldn't want to work away, particularly now that I've got a family.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it shouldn't always just come down to money anyway. It should also be about what you enjoy doing when it comes to work. But yeah, very few male primary school teachers. Even when I was at uni, it was very few as well.
You're right.
And, you know, I don't know exactly why, but maybe, you know, it's definitely different in high school, but maybe in primary school, a lot of guys don't want to have to, you know, deal with, you know, teaching younger students for whatever reason. And because it is with its challenges, and you've got to be very patient. Like, definitely, you got to have patience, and you've got to be a good listener, and, you know, you've definitely got to, you know, be generous with your time, and you know, just you got to be there for them. And it can be quite a, you know, all students have these social and emotional needs. You know, I've got a class at the moment that I've got to work really, you know, really closely with a lot of students of making sure that their needs are catered for.
Nice.
So that might be a bit of, that in itself, you know, could be deemed as maybe too challenging for some people, or, you know, a bit off-putting. But for me, it doesn't bother me. You know, I thrive under those conditions, but it might not be for everyone.
Yeah.
And same for females as well. Like, not everyone is suited to becoming a teacher.
Yeah.
It's like, I definitely couldn't do certain jobs. It would be, you know, maybe too tedious for me in other professions. So, like, I couldn't be a nurse. I'd find that too hard. I don't like to deal with, like, you know, injuries like blood and this and that. Like, it'd be off-putting, so I couldn't become a nurse. So, you know, not everyone's suited for certain things, and it's definitely a female dominated industry, but doesn't bother me. I've made some very nice friends through, you know, teaching who are female, and they're awesome. They're extremely helpful. You know, a lot of them are extremely creative. You know, a lot of the ladies, even at my school, are extremely creative, really professional. You know, give me good guidance if I need, and you know, communication skills are there. And, you know, I've been able to find my niche at my school, and ever since returning back to teaching, I'm so happy to be where I am at the moment. And
Awesome.
It doesn't really bother me if there's not too many men at school, although every now and then it's good to be able to, you know, chat to a guy about certain things that I want to talk about that some people might not be interested in.
Cool. Yeah, so that comes to my final question, which is a key one for this website. What is the best advice you can give to someone who wants to get into teaching?
That's a good question. Well, if you genuinely want to do it because you feel like, you know, you have a passion for it, do it. It is challenging, like I mentioned before. I don't want to repeat what I'm saying. You know, you're going to be working outside of your normal working hours. The schools, a lot of good schools are going to actually ask you to do a lot more than just teach. I'm on certain, you know, committees. You know, I've run things for the school. I'm actually helping organise a sensory walk for students, to help students with special needs and other 20 and also students that can't, you know, might lose their friendship group at recess and lunch and need to find a place to play. So I'm working on that now. I've got other things that I've been working on at school as well, so that the workload is quite big. But the thing that I'll say to anyone who's young about to start high school, not high school, university, not too sure what they want to do, and to give teaching, an open mind, because it's really good for, I think it's good for character building. I think I'm a much mentally stronger and also better person now than when I started teaching. For instance, when I finished high school, I wanted to, go and have fun and adventure, but I just didn't know what I wanted to do. Didn't have the right direction. But once I actually gave teaching a go, my direction completely changed, and I've been able to have some really strong, healthy relationships with colleagues, and also it's helped me out with my family, and it's helped establish, where I've got to in my life. And I'm definitely grateful for all the opportunities that I've had at different schools and all the awesome experiences. And the one thing I will say, which has kept me teaching, is that I've never had a boring day in my life. And that's to my heart. There is no boring day. I almost never would even look at the time, apart from like it's the bell, okay, lunchtime, I get to have duty or go grab a coffee or whatever. It's a job that you rock up, have your day, in a couple of blinks you're finished. It's so intense and it's really enjoyable like that. So I'm never bored.
Nice.
And that's really important.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much, Stefan, for giving your time and helping people watching this, like trying to make a decision on a career. Like, I reckon what you do is awesome. Like, it's
Thanks, man.
Yeah, it's really important. So thanks
Cool.
again.
No worries, man. Anytime. Cheers,
Awesome.
Duncan.
Cheers. See you later.
Catch you, mate. Bye.